And then next up in the news, Republicans, they were getting slaughtered in town halls earlier this year, and then they went away. And I will say, after what happened yesterday, I don't know if many are going to be coming back. And I say that because last night you had GOP Representative Mike Flood from Nebraska holding a town hall in his state where he answered questions from his constituents. The problem there, though, is that Nebraska's Democratic Party were like, hey, let's let our people know that this is happening. And they posted the details of the event online and added, you know what to do. And so when Flood took that stage, the crowd that stared back at him was not a friendly one. And then as soon as he broached the first topic, the big, beautiful bill, he immediately got heckled.
There's been a lot of misinformation out there about the bill. Okay, let's start here. Please let me tell you why I voted the way I voted, and then we will take your questions, and you will have an opportunity to get answers.
Now, of course, with this, you know that this show is about trying to make all the news consumable. But with that, I gotta know that if I was to show you all of the heckling and the booing that he got, I'd have to just play the entire hour-and-a-half town hall for you, because it literally never stopped. Like, I think the bad dreams that he had about how this could have gone were probably smoother than how it actually played out. Right? And then when Flood actually tried to engage the audience in a dialogue, he didn't get the reactions that I guess he thought he might get.
If you choose not to work, you do not get free health care. You do not get free health care. Okay. So here's a question. Do you think that people who are 28 years old that can work and refuse to work should get free health care?
Flood then trying to appease them a little bit, but it just didn't work.
I truly believe this bill protects Medicaid for the future. I believe it.
And then when Flood celebrated the BBB's tax cuts, they responded with a chant of their own.
Next slide, please. No taxes on overtime.
With it then getting to a point where the organizers started reading questions that were submitted from constituents, such as, why did you vote for a bill that increases the debt by $3 to $4 trillion?
When President Trump passed the 2017 tax cuts, we saw explosive growth in this country. We saw explosive growth.
And then the question, why did you cut SNAP, food stamps, and healthcare research?
We do not have unlimited money in the United States.
Right, and then they let the audience come up to the mic and ask their own questions directly, and that's where things really hit a different level.
With 450 million FEMA dollars being reallocated to open Alligator Alcatraz and 600 million taxpayer FEMA dollars being used to now open more concentration camps, and ICE burning through $8.4 million a day to illegally detain people, how much does it cost for fascism? How much do the taxpayers have to pay for a fascist country?
Americans went to the polls in November, and they had a choice between a Democratic candidate that had an open border, no enforcement, fentanyl, drugs, human trafficking. And they had a choice between that and a candidate that said, close the border.
He then also had another attendee making a point in a similar vein.
There's a saying that silence is complicity. Your silence tells us that you have no problem with the January 6th attack on the Capitol, the pardoning of all those involved, the big lie about the 2020 election with absolutely no evidence. These are all markers. These are markers of fascism. I have read a dozen or so books on authoritarianism and fascism. You said in Seward that you were not a fascist. Your complicity says otherwise. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
Sir, I want to be very clear with you. Fascists don't hold town halls with open question and answer series. And what happened on January 6, 2021 was not right, and I'm on the record saying so.
But whether you think that he's a fascist or a fascist enabler or not, he was then also accused of being a capitalist shill.
Why does it seem like when you make your voting decisions, they're based on capital rather than the working class? Billionaires and corporations got their tax issues enshrined into law forever, but the working class gets a no tax on tips or overtime that only applies to some of us, and now we wind up in a situation where we are.
The Republican Party, now more than ever, represents the heart and soul of the working class.
He was then also asked about Israel and Gaza and the funding of Israel.
What happened on October 8th was an abomination. Well, October 7th, sorry. I support Israel. No American wants any child, no matter the place they live, to ever suffer. But you got to remember, we're dealing with Hamas.
Then, when he was asked about Trump firing the Bureau of Labor Statistics head for publishing jobs data that he didn't like, Flood just played dumb.
I don't know what the situation was with the Department of Labor person. Neither do you. I don't know. I will say this, though. If all that person did was get the data out there, if all that, and I don't know that's the case, but if that's all they did, I would not have fired her. I mean, to be honest, but I don't know because things are complicated.
Then finally, someone asked the question that really we all knew was coming.
Why are you covering up the Epstein files?
At the next pro forma session of the Congress, you'll find my name as a sponsor on a resolution from the House Rules Committee to release the Epstein files to protect the victims and not re-victimize them again. I support Jamie Comer, who is the House's Oversight Committee Chairman, subpoenaing Ms. Maxwell later this month to come testify in Washington. I am for the release of those records.
So there, I should correct him on a couple of things. First, Comer actually postponed the testimony by Ghislaine Maxwell back to October at the earliest. Right, and that supposedly so the Supreme Court can decide whether to review her case in late September. And second, the resolution he mentioned is non-binding, so it wouldn't actually force Trump to release the files. But then, after some more questions, Flood finally wrapped things up to a chance of vote him out.
Thank you very much, and have a safe drive home.
Now, obviously, with this, you have to note that the crowd of some 700 there, it didn't reflect all of Nebraska. As I noted before, the Democrats encouraged people to attend, and this was held in Lincoln, which is a relatively progressive city for the state. And all of that as Flood occupies a very safe seat, with him winning his district last year by more than 20 points. Right, and this is not the first time in a town hall where he has faced such a grilling. Where during another back in May, someone asked him about a line in the big, beautiful bill that stops courts from holding the White House in contempt if it ignores their injunctions, and Flood gave this answer.
I am not going to hide the truth. This provision was unknown to me when I voted for that bill.
And very notably, Republicans got similar treatment from their constituents as well. The likes of, for example, Senator Joni Ernst going viral for this response to someone yelling that people will die as a result of the Medicaid cuts.
Well, we all are going to die.
You know, it's been a minute, and now this 6-week recess that Mike Johnson called early to avoid voting on releasing the Epstein files, it's ended up being the first time that they've had an extended break since the BBB passed. And so this reception that Flood received, it's what a lot of his colleagues were fearing would happen, which is actually why back in March, with the chairman of the House Republican campaign arm warning his colleagues against doing in-person town halls and suggesting, hey, do virtual events where questions and comments could be filtered. And now it appears that Flood himself agrees, with him telling reporters after yesterday's town hall, "This is my third and final one for the year. We're going to give you all a break," which very much sounds like me on a call that I wish ended 10 minutes ago going, you know, let me give you back your day. Sorry for holding you up. Right, but also notably with this, you had the New York Times adding here that the 35 House Republicans whose seats are being targeted by Democrats next year, only one of them, Brian Steele, has actually done an in-person town hall, and it did not go well either.
But what I view is the moral hazard created by the Biden administration by allowing the U.S.-Mexico border to remain insecure. And so...
And you have many arguing that reflects a growing popular frustration with the ruling party, especially on particular issues. I mean, for instance, polling shows that Americans oppose the BBB, seeing it as a handout to the rich that hurts poor people and balloons the debt. And in a recent survey, 70% of people said that Trump is not handling the Epstein case well, with only 18% saying that he is. And of course, the impact of his trade policy, wherever it lands, it's been chaotic, it's going to be felt by a lot of people very directly. So, you know, Democrats, they're wanting to fight that, though really at this point they have no power. And so they're hoping to capitalize on all those weak points going into next year's midterms. You know, historically, they have a reason to be optimistic there. The first midterm typically punishes the incumbent president's party, and Republicans already have a very slim majority. Democrats only having to net 3 seats in the House to flip it. Though for the Senate, which is very different, they would have to flip 4. The one, as we've been talking about, the gerrymandering in Texas and other states, it could give Republicans the seats that they need to hold on to the House. And then as far as the Senate, most of the GOP Senate seats that are up for re-election next year, they're in red states. So it would be a very big uphill battle for the Democrats there. But also, and I always try to stress this whenever we talk about it, as much as people are not liking what Donald Trump is doing and the negative feelings we're seeing against Republicans, that doesn't mean they like Democrats. In fact, voters in one poll this month, they gave the party a 19% approval rating with 72% disapproving. So Democrats, I think they really need to start adding an "and" to where they've been ending their sentences. Or just saying what Trump and Republicans are doing is horrible, it doesn't make a difference if at the end of that sentence you don't go, "and this is what I'm gonna do about it," or "this is what I can offer." Being against something is only part of a personality. What are you for? And speak like normal ass people. Please do not do such a horrible job one day I have to leave my cushy gig and fucking throw my hat in the ring. I would hate it.